welcome to AFI Fest 2020 presented by Audi. I'm Eric Moore, a member of the programming team here at the festival. First, I want to thank our festival supporters, our presenting sponsor Audi, our AFI members, and of course you, our audience. We are very lucky to be here today with the director of Under the Open Sky, Miwa Nishikawa. So Miwa Nishikawa is a veteran filmmaker whose 2003 feature Wild Berries was but a first of her films to receive many accolades. In 2016, we had her film The Long Excuse here at AFI Fest. We are so excited to be able to share her newest project, Under the Open Sky, which we know you've enjoyed as much as we do. Moderating our Q&A is film critic Amy Nicholson. She is host of the podcast Unspooled and a critic for KPCC's Film Week. Her credits include New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, and The Guardian. So welcome to you both. And Amy, take it away.
Great. Hello, everybody. Please welcome me in joining Miwa Nishikawa and her translator, David Neptune, who will be helping us out. And Miwa, I'm so excited to talk to you about Under the Open Sky. Congratulations.
I'm so thrilled that despite coronavirus being all over the world, that AFI Fest is still going on online and that I was invited and chosen for this year's festival. So thank you very much.
We're so happy to have you. And I'm curious, your first two films, Miwa, Wild Berries and Sway, they were inspired, I heard, by your nightmares. You know, when you woke up from a dream, you knew that you had to turn your nightmare into a film and sometimes a novel. But this film, Under the Open Sky, is your first time making a film from somebody else's book. And I'm wondering, why this story?
I really wanted to have some good dreams that I could turn into films, but the more I intended to do so, the less I saw good dreams. And so I turned to the author who also wrote the story which became Vengeance is Mine, the film Vengeance is Mine, and his name is Saki Ryuzo, and I looked into his work, which is called The Inmate Files. So Mr. Saki, I learned of his death in the newspaper, and I had never taken a story that was based on a real existing character. And it's not a big story. It's nothing, extravagant, but it's really about how does a criminal reassimilate into society. And so it was this sort of story of the shadow side of how that happens. And so that was a first for me to encounter such a story, and that really intrigued me and made me want to turn it into a film.
影に隠れたような物語を丹念に紡がれた小説っていうのに初めて出会ったものですから、こういうものに自分も着眼点を持ったことがなかったし、映画にしてみたいなと思ったのが最初のきっかけです。
One question I had about the reintegration is, as an American, I'm very curious to know more about how in Japan, Yakuza have become outcasts. Because I feel like here in America, we still seem to think the mafia is pretty cool.
So in the 80s and 90s, well, first of all, I think the word cool can have many different connotations in Japanese, so I'm not sure exactly which type of cool you mean, but in the... すごい、来るっていうのは、すごいという意味でしょうか。But in the 80s and 90s, people were looking to alternate ways of making a living, and some of those involved these sort of darker work that people were doing. But as time passed, in the 2000s especially, those people were sort of beginning to get closed out from society. They were completely pushed out. So in Yakuza movies, I think there's a tendency for the characters to be depicted as definitely very cool or these really edgy characters. But now that idea, that image has totally crumbled from that side of Japan. And so now it's people can't really have full tattoos and wear dark suits, or one or the other even. And so I became very curious recognizing this, how these people were being pushed out of society and why they were. And so I started to look into the roots of why this was happening, and that became a big inspiration for this film.
なぜ彼らがその闇の社会で、裏の社会でしか生きられなくなったのかっていうルーツみたいなものも、この作品を脚本にしながら、撮影しながら、取材しながら、いろいろ分かってきたところでもあります。
Here, I'm sure a lot of people watching this recognize your star, recognize Koji Yakusho from his comedies. He's very well known here for Tempopo, Shall We Dance? I'm sure many people watching this have seen him in there. What made him write for this part? Had the two of you wanted to work together for a while?
So in Japan, I think he's at the top of the top. He's one of the best actors in the country. And what happened was when I was 17, I saw a TV show where he was playing the main character. He played this serial killer based on a true story who killed 5 people all over the country. And he played this very complex character. And it's not necessarily a happy end or anything, but I was just really intrigued by that complexity and wanted to do work that really delved into the complexity of humans and the human character.
複雑な人間っていうものを描いていく仕事に就きたいなって思ったんですね。それがこの世界に入るきっかけでもあったので、いつかご一緒したいなという思いはありました。
That's so interesting. Usually when I think of Miwa's films, I think of her as being so interested in characters who feel guilt. And here she's having him play a character who doesn't seem to feel very much guilt at all.
It's true. Your observation is very true. And I think humans have a lot of either guilt or hesitance, or there's some untruth about many people. And but with this character written by Mr. Saki, it was just very clear that he was all out there. He wasn't hiding anything. He was putting it all out on the table. And I think it might be that contrast from the characters that I tend to depict that also attracted me to this character.
I'm wondering if Miwa herself, if part of her connected to Taiga Nakano's character, the television director, because I couldn't help but notice the similarity that they're both directors, they're both people who write novels, they're both, I think, very curious about the ethics of understanding people and putting people on film.
So the main character, Mikami, really lives a different life than any general person of the public. And so I wanted to have a character that really saw him the way he really is, the way that the audience would see him, and sort of play this bridge that would connect him to the audience and to better understand him. And so that was the role of the director character in the film. But you know, before making a film and always having this idea of wanting to move the audience and create a moving experience for them, I think there is a need for filmmakers and storytellers to sort of look at people's suffering and in a way turn that or exploit that into business. And it's kind of a dilemma, I think, that as filmmakers, as a filmmaker, I face. And it's a sort of push and pull that I feel in the process of filmmaking that I always kind of struggle with and play with as well.
自分自身でも葛藤も罪悪感も抱えているところでもあるので、それはものを描いていく人間にはついて回る棒のようなものだと思うんですけれど、そういう部分では自分の葛藤も含めて大学のキャラクターに投影した部分があると思います。
I'd love to learn more about her filmmaking process because, I know that Miwa started her career working with Hirokazu Koreeda, who is very famous for his almost unusual style of directing, very collaborative. He likes to ask the people around him for advice. I'm wondering if that style of directing works for her or how she prefers to direct.
Now I feel like I take a lot of time for research. The original material for this film was written over 30 years ago. So to bring that novel back up to date, I researched how are criminals who have been released from the prison system in Japan living, after 2017, let's say. How are these people living and how are people who used to be in Yakuza families, how do they re-assimilate and adjust back to regular life? So I read a lot of novels to prepare for that.
生活を送っているのかとか、もっとそういうヤクザのような組織にいた人っていうのはどういうふうにそこから足を洗って社会で生活していくのかであるとか、社会のシステムっていうのはいろんな行政の人にも話を聞きながら、人の描いた小説を自分のこう視野肉に落とし込んでいくというプロセスに随分時間をかけたような気がします。
Is there a larger conversation happening in Japan about how difficult it is to rebuild a life after jail? Is that a big topic in the Japanese media? Because we are seeing so many interesting films coming out of Japan with that idea, including Korea's Shoplifters.
In Japan, as I mentioned in the narration in the film, the percentage of criminals who leave the prison system and commit another crime and go back to jail are increasing. And so that sort of statistical analysis and that sort of thing is definitely in the media a lot. But what you don't really see as much is, how are these people being treated after they're released? How can we not just punish criminals, but also or people who have committed crimes, I should say, and how do we think about that differently? Including myself, I'm not sure exactly the particular answer for that, but it's definitely something that is not in the sphere of awareness with the general public yet.
よく練られてはいない段階かなというふうに認識しています。
Does it sound crazy to her that, as an American, coming from my perspective, in watching this film, I kept thinking how helpful and kind the people of Japan seemed to Mikami, that maybe nicer than here. Even to me, it almost felt inspirational that he had so much community support.
It's true. I don't think Japanese people are generally that kind either. So yeah, and Japan in general is a place where if you step off the rail, so to say, that people are very cold to you and not very accepting, and people really aren't trained in how to deal with those situations. And so yeah, that's I think the people in this film are pretty unique in that way. So, however, I would say that the film is not, doesn't completely stray from reality either. People can be kind and people can be very cold, and there are both sides. And that was something that was really portrayed in detail in the original book called Inmate Files. So cold people aren't cold forever. Within the relationship, there's a revolution and there's a change that happens to people. And so that was something that I wanted to portray in the film.
私も、丁寧に描いたつもりです。
I love that. And as we wrap up, because we have the advantage of talking to people who've just seen this film and we can talk about, bigger messages, I'd love to know what that last shot, that amazing pull back zoom and then looking at the sky shot meant to Miwa when she saw it, or when she created it.
So I actually came up with that shot as we were shooting. So as our character Mikami passes and all of his friends are all sort of crowded around there, the original plan was to show all of these characters, these people who were at first completely unrelated to this man's life, be the end of the film and have them in a really nice shot at the end. But I thought about the meaning that sky and this big open sky had to Mikami when he finally got out of prison. And so sort of really symbolizing his freedom. So and on the shoot day, it was so sunny and beautiful that I thought, oh, maybe we can end it that way, and show the sky that not only he was looking up when he came out of prison, but also the sky that he went up through as he passed away.
の日もよく晴れて綺麗な空が広がっていましたし、彼が登ったであろう空にカメラをパンアップして終わろうというふうに構想を変えました。
Well, that is a nice ending for all of us. So I want to first say thank you so much, Miwa. It's been lovely to have you. Thank you so much, David, to translating. And also thank you to everybody who's helping us watch these great films that AFI has programmed for us home alone. Thank you for helping us really put together an interesting, strange, lovely film festival year. We're glad to have you all watching along with us. Please continue to see more films. And as we exit, join me in thanking you. Waving. Thank you, Miwa.
ありがとうございました。Thank you.
ありがとうございました。Thank you, everyone.